All right, so what are the things from your own personal life that you feel you explore most with your comedy? And do you work stuff out through your comedy?
You know, I go to therapy, and a lot of times when I realize, you know, when you have the big breakthroughs, it's always something very, very simple, but that you haven't been able to see yourself.
I love those moments.
Yeah, me too. It's like,
live
oh,
for them.
yeah. I just when I get inspired like that, it ends up in stand-up.
Right, that's what I wanted to ask you. Like, when you've been in those places in your life, and I would assume if you have any history of depression, it's been in and out of those. At least it has for me been like that. You know, what do you do when you're in the depths of depression? Like, when you're in it, what happens to you? And what have you done to kind of pull yourself up out of that?
Yeah, I've been in a process of recognizing when I'm starting to spiral and doing something about it. But just the just living through it. Like, the bravery is just in existing, you know, and coming out the other side. So I go, oh, I feel myself going that way. Sometimes there are little remedies, like put on your sneakers and exercise, you know?
That's so true, isn't it? It's like the endorphins and the studies I've read about depression saying that, you know, they've given a placebo. In clinical studies, they've given a placebo, an antidepressant, and then exercise therapy. And the people with the exercise therapy did just as well, if not better, than the people with the medication.
Yeah. Though I'm also on medication. But I mean, I'm lucky. I found the thing that works for me at an early age.
You're really
it's
lucky.
in my family. I think that medication is prescribed way too willy-nilly. At the same time, I need it, and personally, and
works for
my
you.
life has changed, and the way it's changed is I feel like I've been given my life back. I mean, I went on it years ago, and it just worked for me. It's a very low dose, but it's that bridge of broken
Synapses,
serotonin, that just needed to be reinforced.
Once you were able to kind of focus and get your life back, right? Or do you feel like
I just felt like I could be me again, like, you know what I mean? Like, I was just spiraling into places that were based on not actual things, but
reality.
just this chemical kind of spiral of helplessness, panic.
How did you realize that was what you had? How did you get to the point of saying, like, oh, perhaps I have some depression?
Well, I had suffered depression from like 13 to 16 very intensely. You know, my parents did everything that they could. It was, you know, I went from being a really outgoing, like, class clown to not being able to even bear being around my friends. There was something too heartbreaking about it. Being obsessed with the thought that I was totally alone in my body, that nobody else could see behind my eyes, and it made me scared. And
so isolating.
I remember my stepfather, you know, my dad and my mom were like trying to fix it, and like they didn't know what to do, but they just, you know, I have that too, where it's like I want to fix it. And my stepdad he just asked me one question. He said, you know, what does it feel like? And no one had asked me that, and I really thought about it, and it was like I knew exactly what it felt like. It felt like I was desperately homesick, but I'm home. So there was like no way to satiate it, you know?
What a great way to describe that feeling.
It is, but it's just what it felt like.
Yeah.
Nothing described it better, and it felt good just to put it into words, and that he just didn't try to fix it, but just kind of was asking me about it, you know? Yeah. But I guess it's just, if you look inward, in any way, if anyone looks inward in any way, it's going to benefit them. It's funny because, you know, being in comedy, it's a lot of people and a lot of negativity and a lot of, like, a lot of self-deprecation, you know, and I'm not saying I'm not a part of that or I don't take a part of it, but I do try to step back and not, because the thing about constant self-deprecation, constant putting you down, not only that you start to believe it, but I think that it's a misconception when people are constantly putting themselves down in front of people that they're being humble. But the truth is, it's total self-obsession. You know,
And it's really
there's
low
no
self-esteem.
room left for others.
Right.
You know, it's always just, even if you're saying, I'm a jerk, I'm this, I'm dumb, I'm stupid, I'm ugly, my nose is weird, it's still me, me, me. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
if you can be okay with yourself, you're gonna have a lot more room to have other people in your life, you know?
So, how do you feel about having kids? Do you want to have kids?
I love kids. I
Just not
love
yours?
kids. I'd love to adopt someday, and I have a lot of adoption in my family. And, you know, I know that I have this depression and, you know, that it's in my family. And, you know, every family has their stuff. But for me, I just don't feel strong enough to see that in a child. Like and it's not like if I adopt, they're never going to be depressed. But I know that it will happen if I... And I also, besides that, want to adopt. You know, it's so funny, you know, we live in Los Angeles where everybody is like, don't get your dog from a breeder, get your dog from the shelter, you know. You're a jerk if you get your dog from a breeder, and I agree, you know. But, you know, don't get your people from a breeder. There are human puppies in shelters, and it's odd that never seems to be a connection that people make.
Yeah, that's a big decision to make. To say, like, okay, I know that I deal with this thing. I have depression in my family. I have depression, and I'm going to decide that I don't want to pass it on. That's a big decision, and it's very responsible, I think. By the way, just my opinion.
But I also think, wow.
Or is it from fear?
If my parents were aware, you know, like the way I am aware of genes or this or that, maybe they would not have had me, and I'm so happy to be born, and I'm happy, you know, and I love my life.